Alrighty, welcome to my tutorial series. In this tutorial series, we are going to be making a Zelda-like action-adventure RPG game. So, first thing we need to do is to get the needed content. So, I will provide the links to all of these websites uh, on the YouTube post. But to start off with, you want to come here to Open Game Art and grab the Zelda-like tile sets of sprites. So when you get to this page, you're going to see this gfx.zip. So you're going to click on it, wait for it to load, save file, right? And we're going to save this in our assets, however you want to save it, wherever you want to save it. Just save it someplace that you know where you're going to be able to find it later, right? Which I have already done. You've got this GFX link right here. Alright, so we've got that one. Next one you're going to need to grab is this tiny adventure pack on itch.io. So what you're going to do is come to his little site, click download now. You'll get this little thing. This is no thanks, just take me to the downloads page. And you're at the downloads page. You're going to click download. And you're going to save the file. And again, make sure you put this someplace that you are going to remember where you saved it at. Mine, I am saving in my assets folder, free, itch.io, and this is the tiny adventure pack. Alright. Okay. Next is the Mythil Age stuff that we're going to be utilizing. So he's got this sound effects pack that's got all kinds of different sound effects that, hey, this could be cool to include some sound effects into our game, and they're for free. So, of course, again, this is itch.io. Download, no thanks. Take me to the download page, download, and save it into your assets folder wherever you want to remember that you saved assets to. Mine again is going to be C assets paid itch.io, and we got this Mythil Age folder here that I have saved. And actually, this was the free folder, so here you go. Bam, Mythil Age sound effects volume 1 zip. Next, you want to grab the Mythil Age tile sets. Just because, hey, I am going to do all my tile sets in the same style, and this tile set pattern actually fits in with these characters that I decided that we're going to use. So, again, download now. It's the same thing because this is all in itch.io, so it's going to be the same thing as we just did. Download now, no thanks. Take me to the download page, and you're going to download it. And we want to grab this Mythil Age spell icons version 1. Because it's 23 spell icons in the Mythil Age style. Each icons are 32 by 32 pixels. Download now, no thanks, and then download it. And we're also going to want this Mythil Age Sprites Volume 1 because, you know, hey, it's got some sprite characters that are going to be, we'll probably be using as just NPCs in the game world. Who knows, maybe we might use the skeleton as a enemy character. We might use some of these other ones as enemy characters too because it's a good little set. But it's only an idle and walking animation, so. But if they're free and it fits our content that we're going to be doing, so download now No thanks. Download. Next, you're going to want the Time Fantasy stuff that we will be using. So you're going to come here to this Time Fantasy free packs. And we're going to say, I want this Atlantis tile set. So right click, open a new tab. You're going to want the Christmas graphics. Open the Cloud City tile sets, the Halloween graphics, Dark Dimension tile set, Jungle tile set, Beach tile set, Ashland tile set. So you're gonna do this for all of these tile sets, right? So Atlantis tile set, it's a free tile set. Download now. If you want to donate, feel free. Pay with card, pay with PayPal. That's up to you. Or you can just do like I do. No thanks. Just take me to the downloads page. And you come to the downloads page and download. And when this loads, it takes a couple seconds sometimes depending on your internet connection, right? So again, I saved mine in assets free HIO, and this one's actually the final boss blues, Tom Fantasy. TF Atlantis. Yep, I already have it. Save, right? And you're going to want to do the same thing for each of these individual different tile sets that he has. Alright. Next, we're going to go to this other free tile sets that you do not get, I do not believe, through any of these tile sets. So, first one is the Lava Falls. Because it's an animated section of lava. So, you're going to come to this here. Tom Fantasy Freebies Lava Falls. Now you have different options. You have the tile set RPG, make your animated tile sets A1. For the different RPG makers, we're only interested in the tile sheet. So you can click on the tile sheet, right click, save image as. And again, save this someplace where you're going to by default find it. Mine, I saved in my assets free HIO final boss blues time fantasy. Alright. Lava Waterfall 100. Next one you want to do is the waterfalls. So here you get a little example. Here's the sheet spread out. Again, we want just the tile set because we're not using RPG Maker. So just the tile set. Right click, save image as, and save it where you can find it. Next, we want the night sprites. So you've got the working size 100%. So you're more than welcome to pick up whichever one. I'm going to do the working size. Right click, save as. Alright. And we'll save it. Make sure I still, yep, I have that one. Alright. So we got the knights. Bard character with animations is the next one. Because hey, look, he's got a little bard character. He's got a bard character playing the and playing a flute. So again, we want the bard sprite sheet 1%. Right click, save image as, and right where we're gonna save it. I have the Bardo one already downloaded and saved. Next, you want the Executioner sprite. Again, under downloads here on his website. Executioner sprite. Right click, save as. Fairies. Again, it's the same exact thing. So if you notice here, it's one sprite, but the sheet has 4 color variations. If you're using RPG Maker, you want to download the 2-time version. Otherwise, you want the 1-time version. So we want the 1-time version. Here's the sprite sheet. We're going to save image as. And I think I already, yep, fairies 1 time. Alright. Next, we want the pink trees. So if you notice, he's got two different ones you can download. This is the regular version. This is the version we're going to be using. Right, right click, save image as pink trees one time. Lava transitions. A, because you're transitioning from lava to solid rock. Again, we want the 16 by 16 animation. Save image as lava animal 1. Check. Master of the Wind character sprites. Hey, because hey, he's got some pretty cool looking character sprites here. We want to click to download it. It's just a little sprite sheet. Alright, save image as. Um, yep, I already have it. Cats and dogs, because hey, we're gonna need some cats and dogs in our village when we get things up and going. So, hey, why not? They're free. It's in our art style. More character sprites. Again, he's got some more character sprites that are kind of in our art style that we can use as NPCs. So why not? And then now we've got all that. You're gonna want to make sure that you get the latest version of Tiled. So you come to the Tiled website, mapeditor.org, download it itch.io, and when it loads, you have the little itch.io dashboard page here. It tells you all about his little software, right? And you come down here and say download, and it thinks and thinks and thinks. You can donate if you want. Um, I've already donated to him in the past, so this time around I'm just gonna go no thanks for his updated version. Because I think that one time download is good enough for me. And you want to select the one that you want, whether it's Linux, Mac, or Windows. I use the Windows version because hey, I like Windows. So download. Again, this is whichever version you want, and you're gonna save this file someplace that you can find it. Right. So I've got the latest version, 1.31, 64, right? All right. We got that. We got that downloaded. You're gonna want to download the Super Tile to Unity scripted importer system. So this uses the scripted importer to import all our tile maps that we're gonna end up making using tiled. So you're gonna come down here, and when we get to using this software again, I will show you again where to download it and how to use this. But download, download. No, because hey, this is what we're gonna download. No thanks, just take me to the downloads page. So now, if you notice, he's got two different downloads that you can do. One's 1.9.1, which it works with the newer version of Unity, and then you have this 1.1.7, which is for Unity up to 2018, because Unity changed the way the scripter importer worked and things work differently. So we're gonna click download for this one because I'm using the latest version of Unity. And again, I'll show you this again when we get to actually using it. You're gonna save the file. You're gonna save it wherever you want it. I've saved mine in Unity here, so I can easily find it. So if you notice, I've downloaded this before and used this in the older version of Unity. Again, it's just a Unity package, so it doesn't hurt to download it now while we're downloading everything. All right, now that we got all our assets downloaded, it is time to come to Unity here. Where's my Unity Hub? Because I use Unity Hub for all my Unity experiences. So Unity Hub, right there it is. Yeah, you notice I got all kinds of different things on my desktop here. So we are going to want to do a new project. We're going to select 2D because this is a 2D project. And we're going to say we want the action. I'm going to name mine Action Adventure 2D. Hey, because that's what I'm creating. I'm going to click create. I think I'm going to get an error because I already have this project templated. Maybe, maybe not. And I will pause this here while this uploads. Alright, now that we have our Unity created, if you notice I'm using version 2019.2.17.f1, right? So first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a folder. And this folder is how we're going to organize all our assets that we're going to be utilizing. So create a new folder, Action Adventure 2D, or whatever you named your thing. So it should match Action Adventure 2D because that's what I named my game. So whatever you named your game, we're gonna come in here and we're gonna create a couple folders. First, we're gonna need a folder called scripts. We're gonna need this folder later on. We're gonna need a folder, and we're gonna call this folder raw art. All right, and then we're gonna come back to our scenes folder here because it's already got our sample scene. So we're gonna come back to our scenes folder, and we're gonna just drag this on right on our action adventure folder. So this is what we have here. We have Action Adventure 2D with a raw art, a scenes, and a scripts folder. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to set a couple things in our project settings. So you're going to come to Edit, Project Settings, and you'll get this nice little window. Sometimes it'll pop out otherwise. The very, very first setting we are going to change is going to be under the graphics. And right here you have the camera settings, transparency sort mode, and transparency sort axis. So I will show you this later on why this makes a huge, huge difference. Um, but before we forget, we're gonna come in here and do custom axis. We're gonna change our axis on the Z to 0 and our Y to 1. So what this is gonna do is anything that's in our scene, it's going to sort by the y-axis, which is up and down in this direction here. So it will put anything that's down here above anything that's up here. You'll see this here in a little bit. I'll show you when we get to importing our assets. Well, why this is an important step to do, and I'll show you the difference. There's one other thing we're gonna come to our tags and layers, and we're gonna add some sorting layers here. So first sorting layer, we're gonna say we are ground. Second sorting layer we're gonna do is on ground, and then we're gonna do a third sorting layer. We're gonna call this foreground. And then we're gonna also, let's see, we got tags. Tag list is empty. So we're gonna do some layers here. So we're gonna need and this is for the physics system. We'll come back to the layers later. I don't want to confuse everybody. But just make sure that you have your sorting layers here, ground, on foreground, foreground. And make sure that you come into your graphic settings, change the transparency sort mode to custom and Y. Alright. Now we need to import all our assets that we have. So you're going to right click here where it says raw art, right click and do show in Explorer. And it's going to take you right to where your thing is saved. We're going to go to raw art assets folder. Now, remember all those assets that we downloaded earlier? This is what we are going to do. So, Open Game Art was the first one that we needed, and we needed the Zelda Like tile sprites, which was labeled GFX. So, um, double click on GFX. Yep, okay. So, right click over here. We're going to come back to Unity. We're going to create a folder. I'm going to call mine free so I can keep, because I'm probably going to be using some paid assets later. So I know which ones were free and which ones were paid. And in the free assets folder, I'm going to create a folder called Zelda Like Sprites. I think that's what it was called. I'll tile set and sprites. Zelda Like tile sets and sprites. So we'll call this Zelda Like tile sprites and sprites. Alright, so now that we have that created, what you're going to do is you're going to double click on the zip folder. You're going to copy it. And we're going to come over here to our Zelda Like tile sets and sprites and paste it in. Alright, now that we have that, I'm going to copy these over just so that they're there as a reminder. Now, this is just where I've created a arbitration text that says, hey, this is the author, this is where you can get this site, this is the license. So this is very, very important. His license is a CCO license, and what that pretty much just means is it's free for all. You can use it whenever you want, however you want. It's public domain. You don't have to give this guy any credit, nothing like that. So, but because I didn't create the asset and I am using his stuff, I am including this in just to be a nice guy because hey, I'm not an artist and I didn't do it. Um, Here's the CCO license if you want to actually see the text, what you're allowed to do with it, what you're not allowed to do with it, right? So that's the Zelda Like tile sets that we downloaded. Now that we need to come back here to our itch.io, and I am going to import all of my Final Blues Brother Time Fantasy sets. So let's create a folder over here in Unity. We're going to create a new folder. So we are still in our raw art folder here under free. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to call this Time Fantasy. Alright. So now that we have our Time Fantasy file created, here's my executioner sprites that I'm going to copy over. Now I'm going to copy over all of my other, except for the zip files. I'm not copying the zip files over. So now for our zip files, we'll start with the Christmas zip file. If you notice, it's got a folder, so we're going to just copy it here. The same with our cloud tile set. Oh, no, look, our cloud tile set is not. So we're going to right here, new folder, cloud. Well, he named all of his underscores, so cloud underscore tile set, right? And we're going to want just these. Copy here. Bam. So those are copied. How about his Halloween tile set? Yep, his Halloween tile set. We're just gonna copy the hall folder over. Um, Now we're down to his Time Fantasy Ashland set. Alright, so now we will create a new folder here called TF underscore Ashlands. And we're gonna want, we don't really care about this, so we're gonna take this, 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 and this. Because 2 times and 3 times are for his, actually let's see what's in the 1 time. Yeah, whoops. So we're gonna want the 1x, his promo, his Ashlands, tile set, and his readme. We're gonna copy to our TF Ashlands folder. I think we're gonna do the same thing with his Atlantis Beach Dark. Yep, so create a new folder over here. We will call this TF underscore Atlantis. Right? Promo. Copy here. Anything labeled RPG Maker we don't need. Because I think, let's just double click to see. Just to make sure that we have, I didn't see that. Did you guys see the bubbles in this tile set here? I don't see any spots for bubbles. And I want the bubbles. Does the rest of it look like it came over? Yeah, the rest of it. So we will just copy the bubbles over. Just in case. Because I didn't see that one. Alright. Back on Time Fantasy. We're going to do the same thing with this beach tile set. New folder. TF underscore beach underscore tile set. And copy here. Again, we don't need the stuff set up for RPG Maker. Dark Dimensions. Let's see what's in this. Door A1, door B1, floating rocks. Alright, so now copy, new folder. We're going to say TF underscore dark dimensions. And I think we're only going to need these 2. Let's just copy them here. And then look to see, make sure that, let's see. Looks like that we have a door here. We have crystals. Alright, so let's come into his 100 folder. Door A1 is the big door with it open and closed. Door B1 is the small door. So let's look to see there's the big door open, small door open. Alright, looks like that we got everything. From the Dark Dimensions folder. Now we want to do the new folder. TF underscore jungle. Copy, copy, copy here. Alright, that will be the Time Fantasy stuff. So we've got the Zelda Like sprites, copied over, and the Tom Fantasy sprites copied over. So now we're gonna come back to where we downloaded our let's next copy over the Tiny Adventure. If I can find where I put that. See, this is why you gotta remember where you downloaded everything to. Should be Tiny Adventure Pack. There it is. So, if you notice, Tiny Adventure Pack, his zip folder, has a folder called Tiny Adventure Pack in it. So we're gonna copy that whole folder over. Now I am gonna copy a couple extra things over, my credits and my things. Copy here. Alright, so that's the Tiny Adventure Pack. Now all we need is the stuff for Mythil Age that we copied over. That was for free. So we're gonna create a new folder here. We will call this Mythil Age. Alright, so let's first get my cool things. Copy here. Again, we're going to open these zip folders. Mythil Age icons. Just copy the whole folder over. Mythil Age sound effects. Copy the whole folder over. His patrons zip 1. Patron sprites 1. Copy those over. And his tile sets folder. Copy that over. And that will be all of our stuff that we need to do. Alright, so now we got everything copied over to our assets folder that we have for Unity. So we come back in here to Unity, and you'll get this hold on, and it imports all your assets. It may take a few minutes depending on how many assets that you have. You know, of course, the more assets that there are, the more it takes to copy over. So we will let this finish copying everything. Alright, so now if you come into Unity and you look at what we have over here, we have our assets folder. And inside our assets folder, we made a Action Adventure 2D folder. And in our Action Adventure 2D folder, we made a scripts folder and raw art folder. And we moved the scenes folder over into here. In our raw art folder, we created a folder called Free with Mythil Age, Tom Fantasy, and Zelda Like tile sets and sprites. And we copied over all the stuff out of our zip folders for all this, for the graphics folder. So we have a cave, character, font, inner, log, NPC test, objects, and overworld. So inside our Zelda Like tile sets and sprites, if you notice that it's one big sprite sheet. Like the cave here is just one big huge sprite sheet, right? So actually we don't have to do anything with this because we are going to be using the sprite we will be using inside of tiled. So there's nothing to set up with that. Our character, we're going to need to change our inner. Nope, our inner. We're not going to do anything with our inner. So character, log, NPC test, and objects. If you select it, hold the control button down, and left click, and left click, and left click. So now all these are highlighted. We're going to come over here. You have a sprite mode. These are all sprite sheets. So we're going to say multiple. We're going to change our pixels per unit because these are all set up as 16. So we're going to change that to 16 pixels per unit. We're going to say our filter mode is point. And now we're going to click apply. And actually we're going to change this compression from normal to none. And then click apply again. This is just to set it up for, since this is all really pixel art, it's just to set it up for pixel art. So you're coming to our character. Whoops. Now we want to slice our sprite sheet. So sprite editor here. And let's see here. Let's see how big our first character is. It looks like our first character is going to be 16 wide, maybe. Yeah, 16 pixels wide, and how many columns, rows do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows. So grid by cell count, columns, how many rows? 8 rows. Let's see what this gives us with 8 rows. Yep, it gives us perfectly sliced sprites here. So that is going to be 32 pixels high. So now we're going to come in here, click slice. We're going to do grid by cell size. Well, let's hold on. Let's make this one, because we know there's 16 wide that we're going to want. And so now let's change this here to pixels and change from center to custom. So this gives us a custom thing, right? And we know we want it to be in the center, so normalize 0.5, 0.5. We know that we want our, so this here, what we're changing is the pivot point. This is where the character is going to pivot on. Right now it is set to the dead center of the sprite, right? We don't want that. What we want is it his pivot point to be at his feet. So you're going to do a custom. You're going to change this to pixels because it's easier to figure out in pixels. If you click and drag, if you notice as I'm dragging down, it's changing by 1 pixel. We're going to put it right here at his feet. So it's going to be 8 pixels by 8 pixels. Now, what we need to do is we're going to come here and we're going to click normalize. This gives us 0.5 and 0.25. So, with that being said, we're going to slice our thing and we're going to come up here to grid cell size. We know that our X direction is 16, our Y is 32. Our pivot point, because we want a custom pivot point, we're going to say X 0.5 and X, if you look over here, was 0.25. You hit slice. By doing this, you will notice that when I hit the control key down, you will see that all the sprites are sliced up pretty good. So, we have his little sprite sheet here, right? With all his sprites, all sliced up, all nice and neat. And if you look, this guy taking up 2. So select the second one, delete. manually edit this, we're going to say that it is 32 in width. Now if you notice, it automatically put his little dot, his pivot point, in the same exact spot on all our sprites, right? So now we have his left, his right, his up, his down. Now, if you look at his attack sprites are going to be the same exact as this sprite, right? So we're going to select the right half of every single one of these attack sprites. We have the right half selected. Now we're going to come back, change the width of the left half ones to 32. Right? Do this for every single one of these. And by doing so, we have successfully sliced our sprite up. Perfect, right? Click apply. Bam. Now, if you notice, we'll come back out of here. With our character, if you click down on our character, you will see that our character now has all of our sprites all laminated. Now, we'll drag this up here. Um, Gizmos. I don't want to see the icon for the camera. Now, if you notice, so we'll come back just so you can see what I did. So if you notice right here, we've got this camera icon that shows over the top, that shows for the camera when it's selected here, right? Well, if you notice, it sits right on top of our character. I don't like that. I want to be able to see my character sprite, right? So if you come over here to Gizmos, get this little drop down arrow. You see camera here? You see where it's got the icon? Click on the little icon and it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. So with the icon selected, it doesn't show. So you don't get that annoying extra little gizmo in there. Alright. So here is the one sprite with him down. Now, if you notice, here is why we sliced him the way we sliced him. Look. Drag this little picture of him carrying it. Look. Turn it off, on, off, on. If you notice, it has the character in the same exact spot. But we'll delete that. And this is why we changed the pivot point. Again, if you drag this one up here, if you notice, it makes his feet at the same exact spot. And that's what we want. We want his feet to be in one's place. And if you look at his action, his attack animation, again, his feet, it puts him all in the same exact spot. And that's what we want. We want to know where he's at. So, we have our character sprite here. We created our character. Yay! So let's do a step further. Let's come here, right click, and create empty. So on this empty game object, let's say we're going to call this our player sprite. we're gonna come over here and we're gonna say this little gear icon right here, and we're gonna reset it so it puts it as 000. Now, click on your character 0 and drag it here. We are gonna call this GFX for our graphics. This is gonna help us sort things out on our player and make things a little bit easier when it comes time to creating everything. Just so we can have everything. So we have our graphics right here. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add a component, and we're going to want to add a component called a box glider 2D. Now if you notice, when we added this box glider 2D, it automatically filled up the entire sprite's width and height. That's not what we want. We want our box glider to be just around where his feet's at. So we're going to click edit, and we're going to say bam, bam. We're going to make it about where his belt's at, and we're going to make this here just like so. So let's make these a little more rounded. -3, 0, 0, 0, 0. We're going to say 0.5 and 0.3. Yeah, that works. Now you have a little box around where his feet go. And we're going to add what we call a rigid body 2D. Well, if it takes it right here, rigid body 2D. We want to make sure, because we're using 2D sprites, we want to make sure that we are all 2D. Now, we're going to say that, remember we created those sprite layers earlier? So we know that our sorting layer, I'm going to put him on the ground because our character is going to show up on the ground, right? So we're going to select on ground for the sorting layer. We got our box glider, we got a rigid body 2D. This is going to be for our physics system later on. Now, if you click play, give it time to start up. Oh, what just happened? Our character went woo way off the thing. So most people have gravity for their rigid body 2Ds for the physics system. Well, we are making a top-down view game, RPG style game. We don't want gravity whatsoever in our game. So there's two ways to turn this off. One of them is under gravity scale right here. You got this gravity scale of 1. You can set it to 0. Now, if doing that, if we come over here and click play, you'll see our character stays right where we've put it. And that's what we want, right? The problem is by doing it by the gravity scale on our character, I'm going to put this back to 1. What happens if we create another character? Right? So that's our character. Here's our other character. We'll move him to the side. Come back to this first character. We're going to say rigid body is 0. Right? We're going to say add a rigid body 2D. Add a box glider 2D because box glider is needed for the physics system. We're not going to adjust this box glider. We're going to leave it the way it is. So now we turned it off on the one. We forgot to turn it off on the other. Oh, what happens is the other guy falls. We're like, oh, that's right. I got to come in here and change my rigid body 2D, change my gravity scale to 0. So we're going to have a lot of characters. And I'm not going to want to have to do this with every character or remember to do this with every character. So we're going to come in here to our project settings. Let me close my project settings out. So window, oh no, it was edit, project settings, right? and you get this little pop-up here. I always drag mine here, so it's always here. I can always find it very, very easy by clicking on my little tab, Project Settings, right? And we're going to come down to Physics 2D, because we're working with Physics 2D. And you notice Physics 2D here has gravity. This is X and Y. Simple, right? It's got a gravity scale of negative 9.81. Well, guess what? We're going to change that to 0. Now, if you notice, by doing that, we have effectively completely turned gravity off. And that's what we want, because we want no gravity in our scene. Because this is a top-down 2D game, and we have no gravity. Now we don't have to remember for every single character to come in here and change this for scale, and change the character's gravity scale to 0. We don't have to do all this extra work for all our characters. It's automatically done. And if at some point later on down the road that we decide that we want to have gravity, all we have to do is come into one spot and turn gravity back on. Alright, so delete the him, delete, delete, delete. Now that's all started off and talked about. Let's look at our other characters that we have that we're gonna make a player character out of. So under your tiny adventure, your character, you got your character 1. Right? You got idle, walk, and attack, and a 4 sides. So let's start with our 4 sides. We know that it's 16. We know it's multiple. We know we want it to be point. We know we don't want anything here. And while I'm at it, just to make this file size a little bit smaller, sprite editor, slice. Now we can do this by grid cells by count, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, 1 row. Slice. Now, if you notice, that puts his right at the center of his head. We don't want that. Again, you're going to come here, do custom, do pixels, right? And let's see here. That looks right, right? Yeah, right at his feet. 8 and 2 pixels. So normalize. We're going to do 0.125. Okay, so let's come back in here to slice. We're going to change this to custom 0.5, 0.125 slice. Now it's at his feet. That's what we want. Apply. I'm going to show you why we did this way. So, if you look at his idle, select, 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 select. His pixels per unit are 16. Multiple point. We're going to say none. Apply. Now, sprite editor for his idle down. Slice. Oh, look, it's all set up already the same exact way we set our other one up. Slice. Oh, but look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 cells, not 4. So 6, 1 column, slice. Now, if you notice, oh, what just happened? If you notice here, on his down cycle, if you notice his point of origin is now not in the same spot. We're going to leave that for now. Apply, slice, slice, right? Now it's all in the same spot. We're going to apply. Slice, slice, apply, slice, slice, apply. Same thing for his walk animation. Oh, we gotta come here and select all of these. 16 pixels, multiple, point, none. So, because I want my sprite editor. Slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. And how about his attack animation? So we're going to select all of them. 16 pixels. Multiple. Oops. None. And bilinear point. So slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. Alright. While we're at it, we'll do character 2, right? Character 2 is going to be the same thing as idle animations. 16 point none apply. You're going to just slice all of them up. You're going to slice, 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 slice. Same with his walk animations here. Excuse me. Got a little code. Normal, none, point, apply. Slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. Slice, slice, apply. And his attack animations, the same thing. 16, multiple, point, oh, not the clamp, point, none, apply. Alright. Slice, 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 slice. Alright. So, we can close our sprite editor for now. Let's create, let's work on this character 1 here. So, we've got this player. In fact, let's duplicate him. Duplicate, right? Player 1. We're going to say this player 1 is player Zelda Like. And this player here, we're going to say is not player 1, but is player 1, player from Tiny Adventure. Just so we know the difference. Click on his graphics. His sprite renderer. character 1. Alright, so, and actually, before we get going too far into this, we'll delete this. Let's start by using our prefab system here. So, we're going to right click, create, folder, prefabs. Right click, create, folder, characters. Create folder, players. Alright, so let's drag this into our prefabs folder. Now that we have a prefab, you're going to see why we did this here in a little bit. Control S. Now duplicate this prefab, right? Player Zelda Like prefab. Hit Control D or right click, duplicate. Rename him to from player Zelda Like to player Tiny Ed. Ensure character 1. And come back to our raw art folder here. Tiny Adventure, character 1. Expand him, select his graphics. Character 0, so we're going to say character 4 size down. Alright. A little bit smaller than our other character, but that's okay. Alright, so now what we can do is we can drag this into our prefabs, characters, players, right? Now you can say you want to create an original prefab or a prefab variant. We're going to create a prefab variant. Alright. Now, with our prefab variant, we're going to say, we're going to move him a couple of spaces over just so he's separate from our regular player. Actually, before we do that, let's duplicate him again. And instead of character 1, we're going to say character 2. Right? And we're going to come inside our graphics folder here and we're going to say we want the character 2. Oh, we never spliced this one. 16 point none. Spray editor, slice, 4 columns because it's only 4 columns. Apply. Alright, so now we want our down sprite for this one. Alright, and we have him named character 2. Again, the players prefab variant again because it's a prefab variant. Alright, now separate these guys out a little bit just so you can see the difference. So, awesome, right? Control S. We're going to save him as our player prefab. Alright, now we need what we call the animations. So, graphics. And actually, we're going to start working here on this. Click open. You see where it's got prefab here? You can open this prefab. Click on his graphics. And we're going to say, we're going to start at the top level here, right? And we're going to say create. And action adventure. We're going to create their animations in their separate folders here. New folder. We're going to say animations. You know what? No. Cancel. Click create, right? Make sure you got the player Zelda Like highlighted. Create. Now it's going to ask us where we want to save our animation at. Right now, the current folder that we were in is Adventure 2D Prefabs Characters Players. We're going to create a separate animations folder. So Action 2D Adventure, new folder, animations. In this animations folder, we're going to create a new folder. We will call this characters. And in the characters folder, we will create a new folder called Zelda Like Player. Alright, Zelda Like Player. So now we need to give it an animation name. Let's call this idle down. This is gonna be our idle down animation. Save. Alright. So oh, I forgot. You guys probably didn't have that. So to do the animation thing, you need to come up to Window, Animation, Animation, right? And it'll pop up this little animation window. And you can grab the tab and drag it anywhere that you want. Right there. So that's how you get to the animation window. So now you got to the animation window. You're going to click on that create new animation clip. And it'll create that new animation clip for you just like we did. I'm sorry guys, I forgot to tell you how to get the animation window open. So if you notice now in our folder setups here, we have a folder called Animation Characters Zelda Like Player, and it created two things: a player Zelda Like animated controller and the animation auto down. If you click on our player Zelda Like here, you will see that there is a animation controller. Under graphics, you have his rigid body 2D and his box collider. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy component. We're gonna come up here and click on one of these, paste component as new. Come here, remove component. And then we're going to do the same thing with this box collider. Copy component, paste component as new. Now, we are going to say remove this off from, because that's not really his graphics, that's more his. And if you notice, box collider's there, the rigid bodies 2D's there. And we also have a new component that was added to our main thing called animator. And on this animator, it added a new controller, right? And on this new controller, it added the player Zelda Like animator controller. And if you notice, we have one animation idle down, which is here. So our idle down one, so we are working on the Zelda Like graphics character. Our idle down, oops, that is not what I wanted to do. Remove component. So, remove property. So, now that we have this, we're going to click record. Now we are recording animation. So we are on frame 0 of this animation. Right? You're going to click the graphics button here. And you're going to say character 0, character 0. Oh, it might. Okay. So to get his first animation, you got character 1, right? We click the record on the graphics. We're going to drag this character 1 here, right? And now what we're going to do is we're going to take it back to the character 0 because we made a change. We want that change to save. Click record, right? Now we're going to say this is our idle animation down clip. We're going to say create new clip. And we're going to name this clip idle. Let's do his left. Why not? It's the same thing. You're going to click record. And oh, which one is the very first left? Right here. The very first left is character 35. So in order to do this, graphics, character 0 here, you're going to find the character 35 animation sprite and drag it up. Character 35. Alright. Now we are going to look for what animation do we want to do next. We'll say we will do his idle right animation. Makes sense, right? We just did the left. So we're going to click record. And we're going to look for the very first animation of him shown to the right, which is going to be character 13. And we're going to do the same thing for his let's see, we got down, left, right. So we need idle, up, save. And we're going to do the same thing here. Click record. And find the very first clip of him, which is character 24. Drag there. Alright. So, now that we have his idols, you can see when you change and click play. That's what we want. Alright. So now let's do his new clip. We're going to say walk down. So let's take a look at this. So if we look, we have his down idle animation here. Right? And then we have, this will be character sprite 1. We'll do this even better. We will click the sprite editor here. So if you look, you got character sprite 0, right? Is 1, which is what we're using for his idle animation. Character sprite 1 here is what we're using for his walk animation. And if you look, it goes right back what appears to be the same exact frame as what we're using for the idle animation. Might be slightly different, but I believe it's the same exact frame. And then you got another walk. So his walk animations go from 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So we're going to be using character sprites 0, 1, 2, 3. So for his walk down sprites, click on graphics again. We're going to record. We're going to start with character sprite 1. Because you remember his idle animation here, idle down, is character sprite 0. So his walk down, we're going to start with character sprite 1. Okay. Now, We are at 60 frames a second. We're going to come over here to frame 2. And we're going to say character frame. We're going to say character 2. Now make sure that when you do this, that you click to the next frame. So now, so we got frame 0, frame 1, frame 2. And on frame 2, we're going to say character sprite 3. And then frame 3 here, we're going to say character sprite 0. Because remember, that was his idle sprite. So we started with 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you hit play, what in the world's going on? You can't really tell what he's doing, right? That's because we have samples at 60 frames a second. We're looking at our 60 frames a second. And we don't want 60 frames a second. What we want is maybe 12. Let's see what 12 frames a second. 12, whoops. 12. 12. Let's try 6. Let's see what 6 does. That slows them down quite a bit. So, we're going to say 12. 12 looks about right, you guys think? Maybe? Yeah, we're going to leave it at 12 for now, and we'll see how this goes. We may change this later. Alright, so now we got an idle down, idle left, idle right, idle up, walk down. So, now what we need to do is to fix his animator controller. So you're going to come to Window. Yeah, 2D was it animation, animator, and it close tab, Window, animation, animator, right? I don't know how to make this pop back out. There we go. So you'll probably get something that opens up kind of like this. We're gonna dock this into our scene, right? Right next to the scene. Make this a little bit smaller. Alright. So if we click on our player Zelda Like character, if you notice, we've got idle down, idle left, idle right, idle up, walk down. That is not what we want. We're going to delete all these. Alright. So the first thing we need to do is come to our parameters. We're going to need a float. And we're going to say direction X. We're going to need a new float called direction Y. And then we're going to add a Boolean here. We're going to say is moving. Alright. These are the 3 animator parameters that we're going to need. First thing first, we're going to create a state. So right click, create state, new from blend tree. Now if you notice, it made this one yellow, created a line from this entry to this blend tree. That's okay, that's what we want, because this is stating that our blend tree is the default animation to play for this animation controller. We're going to rename this to idle. Idles. Alright, double click on it, and you have this little nifty little blend tree here inside with nothing, no motions. It's a 1D. So we know that for our idles we have How many animations? 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so we know that we need add animation, add animation, add animation, add animation. Alright. We also know that we want our down idle to be the default. So let's go down, left, right, up. Alright, now that we have that, down, left, right, up, something's still not quite right here. If you notice, it's only using this direction X. So it's only blending our animations by this one parameter. That's not quite what we want. You could leave it like that, and you could say 0 is this, and you can actually set your own thresholds here. So auto left is going to be 0.33. So if you go 0.33, this direction X, he's now facing to the left. If you change this direction X to 0.66, he's facing right. And change this to 1, he's facing up. But that's going to be kind of difficult for us to figure out in code to decipher which direction he's facing. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this to a 2D simple direction. Now if you notice in the animator here on the side, we have this nice little thing with these 4 directions. So let's think about this logically. You have a direction X parameter, and let's add a direction Y parameter. So now that we have two parameters that we can change, 0 to 1 right now, 0 to 1, right? If you notice, positive is up on the Y, and positive 1 on X here is to the right. So if you notice, pause X, pause Y, X is position X, which we have set to direction X. Pause Y is the Y position we have set to direction Y. So idle down, we're going to say pause X is 0, pause Y is -1. Now if you notice, you can move this all the way around different positions, right? But we're going to physically set it here 0, 1. Or whoops, 0, -1. Because he's going in the down direction, right? So when we have our Y here, -1, and if you notice the red diamond is where we're facing. So red diamond 1, we are now facing down. That's what we want. All right. Now our idle left. Let's see. +1 is, if you notice, when we change our direction Y here to 1, +1 is way over here to on the right side. So that means that we want positive X here for left to be -1, right to be 1, and our up, of course, we know we want the Y position to be 1. Now, if you have a 8 direction character, you can also add in 4 more motion fields here, right? And you can say idle down left, down right, up left, up right. And like for down left, you would do -1, -1. For down right, you would do 1, -1. For down, for up left, you would do -1, 1. And for up right, you would do 1, 1. So now if we change our direction here. So if we were at -1, -1, we're in this bottom left corner, right? As we move up to 0. So our direction Y is set to 0. We're changing between left and right, right, up. So we could actually be going up, left, up, right. Just so you know, if you were doing 8 character directions, you could add these extra direction fields in. But we don't have the sprites for 8 character directions. We only have the sprites for 4. So we are going to do 4 character directions, right? Now, if you notice, this red diamond here corresponds to what we have our directional position set to, right? And depending on which one we are at, depends on which direction that we get. See? And it blends the animation depending on which direction we are. So if you set this to 0, 0. So if this is automatically set to 0, 0, if you notice, it's playing the down animation. Because the down animation was the very first motion field. Our position doesn't correspond to anything that is set here, so it automatically picks the first motion field and goes from there. Just so you have a reference. That's why left, right, up, down, right, down. And if you notice, down, if we drag this here, let's put up right here. So now you notice our order is down, up, left, right. So if we're going left or right, say we're going to the right, right? And we decide that we pushed the up button. So now we're going up right. If you notice, the animation is going to play is going to be the up animation. If we're going down right, down left, and it won't change our animation to the left until we get to less than. Now if you notice, right, direction is -1 here. If I change this to anything but a full -1, so we'll say -0.99, it's going to play the left animation. And the reason that is because the left animation is at -1. Well, we don't have anything for a -0.99 on the Y direction. So it says, well, hey, this is the closest animation I have to play, so I will play this animation because you are at full -1. Now, if we were to decrease this, if you notice, as we decrease this, as this becomes less than, if they're the same, which one's going? The down. So we'll say, just so you see which one plays here as we decrease. So this is how the animation blend tree works, is it goes by whichever is closest. And alright, so now that then you see this, we're gonna have to create a script to change our directions later on. But just so you got an idea. Now if you come back here to our scene, we're gonna save our scene, and we're gonna come back to our main scene. Now, you remember where we created our player Zelda Like as a prefab? And we did this here and all this other stuff, right? Now look at our player tiny characters. Character 1. Look. Rigid Body 2D is here. The Box Collider 2D is there. Everything's all set up. If you expand this. So the reason that we did this as a prefab and as a prefab variant is because our player Zelda Like prefab right? The only thing that we were changing on our Zelda that's going to be different between all of our prefabs is going to be what graphics is displayed. So now we have our Zelda Like prefab here, and we made the changes. We added the rigid body 2D. We moved where the box collider 2D was all at. We moved them all off the graphics here. We moved them to here. That's why we were editing the prefab itself when we did all that, right? So now that when we come back, if you look at our player character Tiny Adventure 1, because we made these variants and not their own prefabs, so these prefabs are taking all of its direction from this prefab itself. So now that this prefab is a variant, we didn't have to do anything to change and update these. We only had to change and update the one and it automatically pushed everything, but it did not override our graphics, right? It's still showing the same graphics because that was what was different between the prefabs when we made the variants. But if you also notice that we have this animator with player Zelda Like on our character one. Look what it did. Player character Tiny Adventure character one has got this player Zelda Like animator, and this here has got the same animator. Now, if we could play, watch what happens. We get the same character all the way across. So to fix that, what we would need to do is to create our animations for these other characters. So, which we're not going to do quite yet because we got quite a bit of work to go to get this started. So I am going to delete these out of the scene for now, just so we can see the one player and work on the scripts that need to be worked on. Now, if you notice, he's just facing down. There's nothing to change. We're not walking. We're not doing anything, right? So now it's time to go to script land. And so we are already at an hour and a half for this video. I am going to stop it here. And we will pick up the next time at finishing creating our players Zelda like animations.